What's going on, Average Joes? Welcome back to another video. Today, I've got a pretty fun idea for a video. I'm talking about books and movie adaptations again. I had a video a while back that I created a list of books that should be adapted into film, and then I made another video of books that should not be adapted into film or shows. And that was just, having fun, my own opinion of what I think would do well on screen. But then I got the idea to reverse it. And by that, I mean, I was trying to think of movies and shows, mostly movies that I really, really liked that I would love to go back to, whether it's, that too many movies now are being remade or adapted more or expanded on. And like sometimes I just don't want that, you just want to be done with it. But I think book series or fan fiction in these worlds would do really, really well. And that's what I want to video about today. Movies that should have fan fiction. That's essentially what I'm talking about today. And before I get too much into it, I didn't do much research on like these movies on if they actually have some fan fiction. There very well could be in the same realm, world, anything like that. Some of them I looked up a little bit, but I didn't really go into any digging. I haven't come across any of them. So if they have some of that fan fiction, then just let me know. Also, this is something that I'm really interested to see what you guys have, what you would think that you would want to read, books in the same world of certain movies. And most of mine on here are lean heavily into sci-fi, and that's just because seems to be the nature of the beast with movies and popular ones that I liked growing up in like the 90s and early 2000s and such, even some of the 80s. So that's mostly what it's going to be focused on. And yeah, this is just for fun. It'd be interesting to go into. And then even if there aren't any fan fiction of this, or to write fan fiction in these worlds, because some of them might be kind of weird, or it might be hard rights wise, I'm interested in any suggestions that are similar to what this fan fiction would be, and similar of what those movies are, but on book, in the book setting. So that's what I'm going to get into. But as always, if you're liking these videos, please like, subscribe, and definitely leave comments here about what videos or what movies you think should have some books, or what you think about some of my selections. So the first one I'm going to go into is actually kind of a 1A, 1B, or not really, but the catalyst for this video I was thinking of as I was, or the very first one that I thought of was Judge Dredd. And then I remembered quickly after that Judge Dredd is actually based off of a comic book. So then I thought, well, Sylvester Stallone's definitely done some other wild movies, and Demolition Man is the first one I'm going to bring up because that is one of my favorite movies. I still reference it to this day. I remember in 2020, I made a ton of memes because of the life situation that was going on then, everything that was happening. But Demolition Man, especially around certain friends, we still reference it. It is a fantastic movie. And it goes from this gang war type, not really pre-apocalyptic, but I guess eventually you find out there was some sort of like apocalypse type society sort of shut down, lawlessness happened, and then they got reformed. And then he wakes up and, cryogenically frozen, wakes up, and it's a utopia of sorts, where the hottest, most sinister crime is graffiti, and people hardly even physically touch, and all of these things. But my number one burning desire that I want to know is, how did Taco Bell win? That's, if you know the movie, then you know what I'm talking about. But I'm really interested to know how Taco Bell won the restaurant wars. And if they want to go into explanation, they can explain the three seashells, which I already know how to use the three seashells because I have Googled them a few times, and just things like this. But the fact that you have people that were cryogenically frozen and then are woken up later on for some purpose, whether it's, some people are locked up for prison sentence, others just locked up for another reason. So it'd be interesting to see why some people are locked up, if they would drive it around waking some other people up for some uses, or just how that shift in society happened, how, the origin story of the reformed society, and the it's not Edgar Friendly. I forgot who the main guy, the older guy is, who was like helpful to responsible society. Now, I will say this is one that, as I was looking up, there was apparently a Eastern European writer that wrote a book. I don't know what it's called, but after Demolition Man came out, he submitted something and said that most of Demolition Man was taken from his book, and they did a copyright matchup, and 75% of that book was matched, or was 75% of Demolition Man was matched to that book. He didn't file any lawsuit claims, anything like that. He just basically wanted to say, I want kind of like I want credit, or like, hey, yeah, that's my idea, and that other Eastern European writers were having a lot of their works stolen and not credited. So that was kind of interesting to me, but no like lawsuits came out of it. So that one actually does kind of have a book to it, and it might be interesting to check out farther down the road. I didn't write down what it was. I forgot to. So Demolition Man for sure, and it's just a fantastic movie. I also asked this in one or two Discord threads, and one of them, I believe it was Pete, on Pondering the Pete, he put out Avatar, and I didn't think of Avatar at first. And this is James Cameron's Avatar, and I didn't think of it at first because like it's a great movie and it's definitely a visually appealing thing, and I'm not sure what you could do book wise. But then the more I thought about it, the more it was similar to Demolition Man. The movie takes off like after all kinds of stuff happens, so you're kind of set in the middle of things that are already ongoing. So with Avatar, the whole colonization you could write books about, and these could even be graphic novels since it's such a visually pleasing, movie, and the CGI and everything, and like the planet and all the species. It could be a good idea for a graphic novel or comic book, something. And the colonization, I think, would be interesting. How they got there, how they started their approach, how they first started doing their mining of unobtainium, and the other aspects of what happened, how the mech suits started, how the actual like clone of the Avatar started, those things. So I think an origin story of that, I think, could be pretty interesting. Or, I mean, well, we got the next movies are coming out. I don't know when they're coming out, so I don't know about continuing the story. That's why the origin story might be a pretty decent thing of how they got there. Another one that somebody put out was Indiana Jones, and I'm not really sure you can do books, additional books in Indiana Jones. You definitely could. Some more adventures that he's been on, maybe his early on career, again, origin story type thing, early on in his career, how he got to be the professor that he is, and his early adventures, because he was clearly experienced when we picked up with him in Raiders of the Lost Ark. So Indiana Jones would be good, but this is definitely one that I would be interested in knowing. Are there other Indiana Jones like series or books out there? Because I think they would be pretty fun to read. Some sort of archaeological / mystic discoveries that are happening in the world that we're on, and like the puzzles that they go through, and just that sort of adventure really is what it is. The adventure aspect of Indiana Jones, I think, would be cool to read on page. And I'm sure there's plenty of other writers that have done some really good adventure like stories, but I would be interested to see if there's more. Next one, Fifth Element. I don't have a ton of justification on this. This is just one of my favorite movies like ever. So awesome movie, kind of a crazy, wild setting. You could kind of do an origin, or whether it's way back in when it first started, or like maybe in the future, how things developed, how the maybe in the past people have tried to acquire the stones. If you're not familiar with the Fifth Element, there are these 4 stones that have to stop this end of days type thing, and then there's a 5th element that's also hidden away, and they have been guarded for like thousands of years by a certain race. So I'm sure within that 1,000 years, other people have tried to take them, and that would be an interesting way to go about it. And just that, maybe that setting. Again, I don't have a whole lot of justification. I just love the Fifth Element, and it's just one of those that when I saw it pop up, I was like, yeah, let's talk about the Fifth Element. This next one, I guarantee there are several sci-fi type books out there with this theme, and it probably was inspired the movie. I just know there's going to be stuff out there. It might be some older sci-fi books that I might not resonate with because it becomes very theological and theoretical and philosophical, all these ophicals. But that's The Sixth Day, and that is with Arnold Schwarzenegger. The Sixth Day. If you don't know the movie, then again, I'm gonna have spoilers because these movies aren't exactly new. They've been around for a long time. If you haven't seen them, then you're never gonna see them. There's advertisements in this world that, once if your pet dies, you can get a clone of your pet, and then they will be brought back to life. Well, there is actually people being cloned that, even though it's not legal yet, it hasn't been made, still hasn't been made legal. Arnold gets lost somewhere. They think he's dead, but then he's cloned and he's brought back and put into his regular life. And then he discovers that he has a clone and this whole clone operation, and he takes down the clone operation. So that sort of cloning type story, I think, I could be interesting to read in a sci-fi setting. Again, I'm sure there's sci-fi books out there like this. So if you have some, let me know and I'll check them out. But that cloning idea in general, and somebody taking your place, is it really you? How do you know if you're the clone or not? Because I think that was one of the hooks, that you're actually following the clone for a while. And this, I guess, would be like I search for like an identity search, or themes to that nature. I'm not really good with themes in general when it comes to books. Again, I'm just an average Joe. I just like to have a good read. So the 6th day, cloning, how clones can be out of control. And I'm pretty sure Haruki Murakami has a clone book, a book about clones. I think that's the one that I might even own, that has sheep in the title or something. I have no idea, but I know there's some clone books out there, and 6th day is just one of those that reminded me. It's not really so much the world; it's our world. It's in the future, but that sort of this one is just ridiculous. I don't even have any. I have nothing else to say. No justification. No why. But Suburban Commando, I watched it growing up a bunch of times. Hulk Hogan as an action hero, pretty hilarious, ridiculous type sci-fi, early 90s, late 80s. I think it's late 80s movie. Just one of those stupid bad sci-fi movies that are kind of interesting. So, where did he come from? Where did those twins come from as well? That's all I got. This next one, I think, would be an awesome graphic novel, comic book type series, something with visuals maybe, but either way, Small Soldiers. If you remember that one, there are these toys that get these really, really high class, sophisticated microchips in them, but they're actually the microchips that are made for war with like artificial intelligence. And these toys go on a rampage, and they kind of start taking out people and things and holding people hostage, and they become very hostile. And by the end of the movie, and then there's the soldiers, and then the Gorgonites, and they're just made to fight each other. But then at the end of the movie, the army comes in, the military comes in, and swoops up all the small soldiers and buys all the chips, and they decide that they're going to use these for war. Well, what do they do with those soldiers? What do they do with these toys? Did they make some more new ones? What about the Gorgonites? It was always a really fun, really good movie, an interesting concept. But I just think it'd be fun to have more adventures of small soldiers and or the Gorgonites. And it could be, you could make them from younger to older, because they do high action stuff. They were, they were, like I said, keeping people hostage, shooting flamethrowers. But then there's the Gorgonites, who are just like, they just want to live. They just want to be free. Yeah, Small Soldiers, I think it could be interesting. Again, don't make another movie of it. Probably not. But some sort of book or graphic novels, I think, could be, there's something there for Small Soldiers, I think. Next one, kind of surprised there isn't anything like this, or there could be something like this. I wouldn't be surprised if there was, because it's such a good idea. That's Men in Black, a secret society, a secret organization like the CIA, but nobody knows about it, and it's about aliens. They are monitoring aliens, discovering aliens, kind of like the law when it comes to alien interactions. And I think there could be a lot there. There could be murder mysteries with aliens getting away with killing people, possessing people, doing crazy stuff. There could be anywhere from large scale invasion, stopping things, to smaller heists, smaller dramas, anything. Take any sort of like CIA crime, action, black ops thing book, and just put it with aliens, and that's Men in Black. And that's like everything, James Patterson and whoever all those writers are that have like 300 books, just do it with MIB, and then I think you got something there. Like, it's not hard. They have all the different agents. You don't have to follow J and K. You got an entire alphabet, and there's probably even more. Yeah, Men in Black. I really think there could be something there, especially if you make the protagonists interesting. You can have them just like with Will Smith. You have the start and the finish. How he got recruited, how they went through. maybe even an old crusty one. You know, you don't want to rehash the same ideas, but I think there's plenty in Men in Black that you could write several books about. Last one I have is going to be, could be a bit darker, but that's why it could be really awesome. And I think you could go a ton of different ways, especially because of how the movies went. That is Riddick. So Riddick, if you don't know, is with Vin Diesel, and he has his eyes changed, glassed over, so you can see in the dark. And he's basically a killer. In the first and the third movie is kind of the same thing, that they're on this deserted planet with these creatures that come out at night that he has to protect and fight against. And there's always a bounty on his head. And then the middle one, there's just like this, the Chronicles of Riddick, there's just this like galactic huge war that kind of doesn't fit in between. It was still decent in its own right, but I think there's plenty you could do with Riddick. Again, another origin story, other people like Riddick, other bounty hunters and people chasing Riddick in that world. I think there could definitely be some things there. More cat and mouse hunting type stories, which are like maybe not high action, but more subtle, slow, intense, high tense moments, and even get pretty graphic and make it more on the grimdark side because it is pretty gory. So I think there would be stuff to do with Riddick. I'm pretty sure they started. I thought I saw somewhere they did graphic novels. I think they had a anime show that they did with Riddick, or anime series they did, limited series with Riddick. There was something more that happened with Riddick after the actual live action movies with Vin Diesel, but I'm not sure what. And I don't know if it was like comics or anything like that. Again, it could be comics as well, just because it's very visual with all the darkness and the creatures and stuff. So that could be one. So those are the quick list that I looked up. Again, a lot of sci-fi stuff. These are basically this is kind of just an insight, a look into what sort of movies I liked and have watched. Like I said, Demolition Man, Fifth Element, seen those dozens and dozens of times. Love those movies, even the Riddick ones. So what are some of yours? What are some movies you have liked in the past that you would love to see, or you think is prime for fan fiction, additional books, more look in that universe, or something that is similar themed? And let's chat more in the comments. I'd love to hear if there's any books that are like these that you know of that you would recommend. Let's talk more there, and I'd love to see what books there are.